Hi guys, this is Fulton at Laser, Lute Air Student Radio from Fulton's Music Room. This is a special episode. I'm celebrating acquiring all of Primus's albums and EPs on vinyl. Um, Kind of tremendous to me. I'm wearing my '90s Mike Gordon, bassist of Fish. It's an homage to him being very '90s, very loose. I'm like a bat. Anyways. Up first is Suck on This, Primus's debut album from 1989, recorded with funds from Les Claypool's father. Personally, two standout tracks, Heckler and Like It. Herb's solo on Like It is insane, even though we'll probably never be able to hear that song again because the lyrics are utterly cringe, according to Les Claypool. That's a loose quote. But yeah, and then you get the classic Herb the ginseng drummer. Because Herb was not using the herbs that those of the Bay Area were using. Overall, it's a raw, primal, fun, wacky album that really paints, early Primus in a way that's refined, cohesive, and just, willing to explore. Up next is their 1990 album, Frizzle Fry. This is basically refined Suck on This. There's a lot of same tracks, which some will carry over to the next album, as we'll see. Basically, it's just, a breakthrough. It shows, like, a psychedelia and, like, a culmination of the San Francisco scene, in my opinion. It's still very raw and wild, specifically to defy the laws of tradition, like, defying, life, what's required of people. Everything that you have to meet up to in life is defied in this album. Personally, two standout tracks, The Toys Go Winding Down, Les's bass sound, the tone, it's marvelous. And then, of course, Mr. Know-It-All, which I kind of embraced in high school because I was a giant history nerd and still am. But I guess I just went a little too overboard. You can talk to me about that if you'd like. Anyways, up next, 1991, Sailing the Seas of Cheese. Amazing album. This is their commercial breakthrough. It features, Jerry Where's Race Car Driver, Tommy the Cat. If you're into 90s music, you should know those songs. Crazy bass man plays funky rhythms. But yeah, this is basically their commercial breakthrough to me. It builds upon the blocks of Frizzle Fry and Suck on This into something cohesive and produced. This is a 2013 remix. Les has a weird robotic voice going on, but never mind that. It's an amazing album. Personally, I'd like to also point out that the band is just filling spaces. You can really feel the Rush influence, in my opinion, a lot of the bass lines, and just how, as a power trio, they're working together. Yeah. And personally, my two favorite tracks are Suck on This and Those Damn Blue Collar Tweakers, which I had the opportunity to see in June of 2018. Up next, 1992, Miscellaneous Debris, 2018 repress, first time ever on vinyl, amazing album. It's actually an EP, excuse my French. This is just a collection of covers, Primus paying homage to those who have influenced them. I'd say it's mainly Les. I want a Frank Zappa cover, because Lair Lalonde, their guitarist, is a huge Zappa fan. Yeah, personally, Intruder by Peter Gabriel speaks for itself. Gated Drums, Have a Cigar by written by Roger Waters, but from Pink Floyd's Wish You Were Here. Primus knows what they're doing. They're refining their sound even more. Pretty straightforward. It's, I feel like it's a very concise effort. It's like they're just covering songs in their own flavor without adding too much or embellishing too much. Just, taking lead guitar on bass. Up next, another one of their most popular commercial albums, Pork Soda from 1993. To me, this song, the lyrics are very dark, they're fun, they're eclectic. It really shows a personal side of Les Claypool lyrically. Instrumentally, it feels more country, lots of banjos, lots of twanginess, and the drumming is just phenomenal. Herb is just tapping into his abilities even more here. Personally, it's just so tight, Herb's chops. And like, I feel a lot of this, like, Les is really in the forefront of the mix. he's driving these songs with these bass lines, and Lure is just shredding over them, providing amazing lead lines. And what else was I gonna say? There's a lot of people complain about this album because there's filler in it, but personally, the filler is, I think it's what makes the album what, I think they're more of interludes if you had to ask my opinion. Some favorite tracks, My Name is Mud, that solidified my love for Primus, pretty normie. But Wounded Knee, and then Hamburger Train. Just amazing instrumental tracks, and you really get to see what Primus is all about when they started getting really popular and a lot more country western. Up next, my favorite Primus album of all time, Tales from the Punch Bowl, 1995. Most progressive, most psychedelic, is what the consensus is from both fans and critics. I consider myself a fan. Anyways, number one track, Southbound Pachyderm. There's just something about it. There's something about that animated video that you can find on their enhanced CD, which I'll get to later. But it's very powerful. It's hard to explain. Primus just goes all over the place, and they don't care. It's Rancho Relaxo. They're doing their own thing. They're recording in Les's ranch. And then the same with Pork Soda. It's like these lyrics are very personal. Like, what is it? Mrs. Blaline? If you listen to it, it's about, experiences in school. Then we got Del Davis Tree Farm, The Anza Jig, On the Tweak Again, Over the Electric Grapevine. All these very personal lyrics that are just like, psychedelic, sex. It's all these things in between that Les is really just going for. And then, of course, the full experience with the enhanced CD that I do not have. This is the most complete Primus effort, in my opinion. Also, it's important to note this is Herb Alexander's last album before he departed until 2003. And it's just like you can feel the dissonance between him and the other group by what he plays, which is an important thing to recognize, I think, because it just shows how different the drum sound once Brain shows up in their next album, 1997, the Brown album. Les Claypool once said, "The Beatles went white, Metallica went black, so we went brown." And it's a different pace, it's a different design. It's like they're tapping in something from the past. It's more earthy, more organic, and just a little more wacky. Another thing I like to say is that this album is pretty palatable compared to the other albums. It feels more straightforward. I think there's less of a prog focus, especially with the drums, comparing Brain to Tim. Brain takes more of a lot of people akin him to John Bonham. Big Ludwig kit, slamming all over the place. 4 on the floor, 454. That's a Danny Carey quote. But yeah, it's straight fun to me, and I really like the songs Fisticuffs and Kalamazoo. And that drum sound is chef's kiss. And then, unpopular opinion, but it pairs really well with Tool's Anima from 1996. Great choice. Up next is another EP of covers, but it runs around 40 minutes long. Rhinoplasty. 1998, more covers. Amos Moses, better than the Jerry Reed version. Tommy the Cat live, you get that solo. You get to see the entire band blast off, especially you get to see the live difference between Herb, as in Suck on This, and then Brian Brain Mantia, which is also on the Brown album, as I said. Amazing stuff. And of course you have the famous The Devil Went Down to Georgia video, which everyone knows Primus for. It's more normie than Tommy the Cat and Jerry Was a Race Car Driver, if you have to ask my very opinionated opinion. Anyways, another point to bring up is that there's a Metallica cover on here, the thing that should not be. That brings me back to Les Claypool's Metallica audition, where they just said he was too weird. And imagine if we had a world where Les Claypool was in Metallica. And up next is, their last album before their initial breakup, 1999's Anti-Pop. This is a new metal album, very commercial. This is Primus at their last straw of the 90s with Brain. It's still fun. Like, the lyrics are a little zany, but what Les is doing on this album, it shows his progression as a bass player. He keeps learning, he keeps implementing different things, and personally, I think a part of that is due to the different producers on specific tracks. We have Tom Morello, Matt Stone of South Park, almost said Trailer Park Boys, Fred Durst, self-explanatory, Stuart Copeland of The Police, which he would later form Oysterhead with Claypool, and Trey Anastasio of Fish, Mike Gordon's guitarist, and of course Tom Waits. If you don't know who Tom Waits is, you're missing out. Very gravelly guy, shifty. But this is basically just Primus trying to be a late 90s metal band, tapping into new metal. And, they do it surprisingly well, even though Les really hates this album, and it's considered a point of where, they were at their, worst contention, I'd say. But honestly, Electric Uncle Sam, you listen to the bass, you listen to Lacquerhead, it's insane. Yeah, I feel like it's an effort that gets lost in the Primus canon. Anyways, up next, 2003, and as I was saying, enhanced CDs where you can see that southbound pachyderm. This is it. Came with a DVD. I have a 2003 CD release. Amazing stuff. Personally, this is my least favorite Primus work, only because of My Friend Fats, because it just gets boring. But otherwise, a fair EP by Primus before embarking on their Hallucinogenetics tour, which saw them play Frizzle Fry and then Sailing the Seas of Cheese as a whole. I listened to some of those bootlegs last year before my hard drive failed, and they were just marvelous. If you're interested, I can get you some. Let me know. Very fun stuff, and I think this album is actually really important for marking what Primus is. Primus is Les Claypool's creation. He's the band leader, and he's been the only consistent member throughout their entire history. It's a return of Herb, of course, but this establishes Primus as Les Claypool's project and Les Claypool's band. You get to see, the jamming of Oysterhead and the Fearless Frog Brigade, which is really great. But it feels like a solo album, but, that Primus effort and that energy from Herb is there. You get Lur's searing guitar lines, just textural over everything. And it's amazing. It also sparks my fantasies of being an early 2000s hippie, where, Jerry Garcia was dead, Fish was cool, Bob Weir was middle-aged, started wearing Birkenstocks. I could go on for hours. Anyways, up next, Primus disbanded again. What a surprise. But Green Naga Hyde with one of their original drummers, Jay Lane. He has some amazing hi-hat work, not only with his feet, but also with his sticks. This is cut up 45, spread over 2 discs. Great album. It's a zooey mama for me. I think this is a return to the wackiness that Primus was conceived and what the lyricism of Primus is really about. They just go all over the place with this album, and it's a refined and stronger sound than before. The lyrics are very reminiscent to Willy Wonka, which I'll get to in just a second, and also the lyrics reflect, not feet, post-2008 America, recession. If I was maybe that age, I'd probably understand that a lot more. If I was this age in 2008 to 2011. And standout tracks to me, of course, are Hoen for the Man, which I thought was Hoen Fod Man. Don't ask why. Crazy Guitar Lick by Lure. And then the Hennepin Crawler. It's just the cadence of that song takes me to another world. Up next, 2014, Primus and the Chocolate Factory with the Fungi Ensemble. I foreshadowed this with a Willy Wonka comment just a few seconds ago. This feels like just a strange solo album, but it's not one you throw on. It's just one you listen to when you want to listen to Willy Wonka and Les Claypool going off. Herb is back, which is nice. He plays a crazy percussion set. I'll drop links in this video to both the percussion setup and a live video of the whole production, which is insane. And of course, we get Lure on vocals for one song, I Want It Now, and his guitar work while singing is absolutely astounding. Anyways, 2017, Desaturating 7, Desaturated Edition. I'm a collector. So yeah, this is a great album by Primus. Once again, it showcases that Les is the band leader. This was his idea. He'd read Older Rico's The Rainbow Goblins to his children. Very fun stuff, as you can see. I like to tote it around. You know, it's a very tight album. I think Lure really shines on this album with his acoustic guitar work. I could go on for hours. He was absolutely shredding when I saw them in 2018. They played this in full. I was on the fence about the album. Live setting changed my entire mind. It kind of speaks for itself. It's just like a concept album. It's a stereotypical prog album, but with a taste of Primus. My phone just went off. My friend texted me. Shout out to Felix Halverson. Anyways, yeah, we just looked at the chronology, the discography of Primus so far. You know, if they come up with another album, I'll definitely make another video. But yeah, it's crazy to have their records like completed. And I just want to say, like, Primus is an amorphous band that is always changing, strictly due to the mind of Les Claypool and his talents as a slapper, thumper, whatever you want to call it, thumping and plucking that bass. And they're a unique band in the American canon of music, especially alternative music from the 90s, because they're so different and strange. They show clear ties to certain groups and certain influences, but ultimately Primus, they're unique. They're one of the most unique bands to ever become popular, in my opinion, and it's something that everyone should try. It's definitely not for everyone, but they're very fun and eclectic, and definitely not a measured group. They're out there. Anyways, this is Fulton from Fulton's Music Room. Thanks for tuning in to this YouTube special on the San Francisco band Primus. I hope to see you next week. Deuces.